Today we're going to learn how to find the equation for a line of best fit for a scatter plot and the correlation coefficient on a TI-84. So first let's bring up our calculator, and there's a couple things we need to do to get your calculator ready for the statistics we're going to ask it to do. There's a few ways to do this, but first of all let's go to Mode. And if you scroll down, we're looking for that option that says Stat Diagnostics, and we're going to scroll down to that option, and we need to turn that option on. So we're going to hit the right arrow over to on and hit enter, and now our calculator's ready for us to do our statistics. So we're going to just do second and quit to get out of that list. And now, in order for us to have an actual scatter plot and be able to draw in the line of best fit and find the correlation coefficient, we need to enter some data. And for statistics, we always want to enter our data in the Stat menu. So if we go to our Stat, we want to choose number 1. We can either choose Enter when it's highlighted or press the number 1 since it's option 1. And this is where we're going to be able to enter our points that we want to have on our scatter plot. Now if you already have data in these lists, again there's a few different ways to clear that out, but one of the easiest is if I want to clear list 1, I'm going to hit the up arrow so that list 1 is highlighted, and I'm simply going to press the clear button. I can do the same for list 2 by highlighting list 2 and pressing clear, and now both lists should be clear, empty, and available for you to use. Now on a scatter plot, we don't just put in X values or just Y values. We're entering points, and each point has an X value and a Y value associated with it. There's a lot of different ways for you to enter this data, but what you need to keep in mind is points, the X value and the Y value from each point need to be side by side. So if I have the 0.15, I need to make sure that 1 and 5 are side by side. That way it's going to know what point to graph. So I'm going to enter the 0.15. I'm going to have the 0.610, and again you don't need to enter the data quite this way. I'm probably making it harder than it needs to be, but I want to make sure that my points are in appropriate places. So I'm going to enter the next point, which is 2.8. Don't forget to hit enter after you type a value, or else it's not going to show up in your list. I'm going to have the 0.36, and now I'm going to have 2 more points, one with an X value of 2, one with an X value of 4. Going over to my second list, that first point was a 0.26, and the second point was a 0.47. So again, I'm just going to make sure that my points are side by side. I'm going to leave it as those 6 points. I know you probably have a lot more data to put on a scatter plot, but for now, that's where we're going to draw the line. And first things first, I want you to see what this scatter plot looks like. So notice right above the Y equals button, in blue it says Stat Plot. That's where you're going to actually graph statistical data. Since it's in blue, we have to press the blue second button first, so do second Y equals. And this is going to give us an option to graph a few different types of statistical graphs, but we only need one, so we're going to press enter when 1 is highlighted. We first have to turn that graph on, and then we need to choose the type of graph we want. The first option is a scatter plot. We have bar graphs and histograms. We have box and whisker plots, which we've talked about all of those this term. And we want to make sure that scatter plot is the one that's highlighted because that's the one we want for now. And we're telling it that the X coordinates are in list 1 and the Y coordinates are in list 2. If this is anything other than that, you can actually change that by scrolling down, and notice the names of all the lists are above the 1 through 6 numerical keys. So if I need to type in list 1, I could do second list 1, and that way you can make sure that your lists are correct. Then you can choose the type of dot that shows up on your graph, and on some calculators you can even choose the color you want. Next we can go to graph and see our data, but notice that this goes off of the window. This isn't a great scale for what I want to be able to view. So I'm going to come over to the window key, and since my scatter plot is all in the first quadrant, I'm going to make this go on the x-axis from 0 to 10, and it's going to go by ones. And on the y-axis, I'm going to ask it to go from 0 to 10 and go by ones. And then if I go back to my graph, I can see it's a little better. This still goes off my window a little bit, so maybe I want to fix that and bring the y-axis up just a little higher, maybe to 12. And now all of my dots are clearly in my window, and this is a little easier to see. Now, for line of best fit and correlation coefficient, we can see that these dots are not completely in a straight line. It's not linear, so there's going to be a correlation coefficient other than 1. It's also going to be a positive correlation since this has a positive slope, and it's not going to be 0 either because these points are fairly close. They're going to be fairly close to the line of best fit. So let's find out where our line of best fit is and how well the points match up to the line of best fit. And again, once our points are entered, we can go back to the Stat menu to get that information. We're going to hit the right arrow to go to the Calculations menu. And number 4, the line of regulation, has another name called the line of best fit. And that's what I want. So I can scroll down and hit enter, or I can simply choose option 4. I'm going to tell it that all my x data or x values are in list 1 and y values are in list 2, and then I'm just going to enter until I hit calculate, and then I'm going to enter one more time. And now here's our valuable information that we're looking for. First of all, see y equals ax plus b. That's the line of best fit in slope-intercept form, and it's giving you the slope and the y-intercept. So you might want to write down those two values, and the option at the bottom, R, stands for correlation coefficient. We're going to round that to the nearest hundredth, and we're going to say our correlation coefficient is 0.81, which means that our points are pretty well fitted to our line of best fit. Since I want to show you this on the graph, let's go to y equals, and we're going to actually ask this to graph your line of best fit, and I'm going to do it in red since this is a color calculator. The line of best fit said 0.8125 was our slope, so our slope times x plus 4.5625, which was our y-intercept. And now if I go back to graph, it's not only going to show me the scatter plot, it's going to show me the line of best fit. And this is much more accurate than I could have drawn the line of best fit by hand. I know exactly what the equation of the line is, so I can use the information to interpret my data. And it shows me that the correlation coefficient of 0.81 says, yeah, my points aren't too far off of my line of best fit. We're going to wrap this up today. Remember, you can rewind and look through the key presses on how to do that again. But for now, I'm simply going to wish you a great day, and I'll see you next time.